Start with a question. And don't cheat because I watched you over the past minutes. I don't know how many of you, there was this Minions meme going viral on Facebook a couple of years back. And it was, on a scale of 1 to 10, how focused are you right now? And the answer was like, banana. So I would really like to ask you, 2 days into such a content-rich conference, 3 months before Christmas, on a scale of 1 to 10, how banana-focused are you? Good. Thank you. So, no? How do I go back? How do I go back? Help, Houston. I have so many problems. Oh, there I am. I got it. Thank you. I just wanted to create a bit of suspense and feel good about myself. I managed to get back to my cover. Yeah, thank you. So I really want to share a few reflections and a few learnings about the magic power of being a recovering perfectionist and an aspiring good-enoughist. And I stole this with pride from Brené Brown. So she was the one who coined the topic. But more than anything, over the past 48 hours, we heard a lot about what to do and how to do it. And I just wanted to take 15 minutes of sharing a few thoughts on how we can be and what we can be. Because at the end of the day, as agile as we are, we're first human beings and then human doings, aren't we? So the power of being a recovering perfectionist and an inspiring good-enoughist. I will start by linking it to what I do every day. I do change every day. And the funny thing about doing change is that whenever you meet someone new and they ask you, so what do you do for a living? And you go, well, I'm a change practitioner. I do change. They go like, oh, you must love change. And I'm like, yeah. So let me ask you a question. My mom, she's a doctor now. Would you expect her to never get sick? And I think it's the same with doing change. There are days when I think change is great, and there are days when I think change is great when it happens to other people. But a few years back, I got really fascinated by overlapping Lean Six Sigma onto change management. And for those of you who are curious, not furious, and thank you, I heard that mentioned today, and it warmed my heart. There are 6 key wastes in change management. And I will only talk about 3 of them, very briefly. One is overanalyzing. We heard so much about data and surveys and information and insights, and they are all wonderful. But there comes a point where when you do change work, you do get to ask your stakeholders not only what is your cutoff date, but also what is your cutoff data. What is that point beyond which more information only makes it more difficult for a decision to be clear? The other one is the strive and obsession for perfection. Yeah, we're not talking about this because we don't know the finest of details. Yeah, or we talked about perfection so many times today, and it's really difficult to talk about perfection with people who are used to do sprints and minimal viable products. But there's a story that comes with the 3rd waste that I want to talk about, and that is heavy tools. And I was so happy to hear about how we talk more about mindsets and skill sets before tool sets. But this is a short story back from when I was young. And my hometown was about 750 kilometers away from the city where I went to university to. And I'm Romanian, and trains in Romania are not necessarily part of our national branding campaign for very good reasons. But when I was in my early 20s, it was really bad. So big delays, I was already working, so I had to travel for business. And I was in quite a few situations where the delays were so bad. I lost accommodation, I missed meetings, or I got to the city where there was nothing to work on. So I said, okay, I will call the complaint office and I will place a complaint, which I did. And I said, look, this is happening, can I at least get an answer? And the wonderful gentleman who was unlucky enough to get my call that day, he said, yes, we will call you back in 2 weeks. Okay. 3 weeks later, I called again, and I said, hello. Was the same gentleman, I recognized the voice. And I said, I'm here to place a complaint. And I was like, yeah, just give me a second, I get the form. He got the form, and he said, what compartment do you want to complain about? What department do you want to complain about? I said, I want to complain about the complaints office. And there was silence, and he said, I cannot register your complaint. And I'm like, oh, why? I don't have a column in my form. So that story goes to show that so often we let tools drive us, when in fact we should drive those tools. But moving on into the presentation, I actually wanted to start it a little bit differently. But about 2 months ago, I heard this wonderful, wonderful podcast episode with Jimmy Carr, the stand-up comedian. How many of you have heard about him or have seen him? Perfect. So, among many other things, Jimmy said that we should all feel imposter syndrome every 18 months or so, over and over and over again. And if we are not feeling imposter syndrome with any kind of set frequency that we're comfortable with, then we are just complacent in being stagnant. And that kind of stayed with me. And I went back and, maybe not every 18 months or so, but definitely I am quite proactive, probably most and more proactive than the average person in putting myself in imposter syndrome situations. And so many of us, we would do anything to avoid the pain of imposter syndrome. And that is so not agile and so not adaptable of us. And if there's one thing I learned, is that discomfort and even embarrassment is the price of entry into something new and into something that if you do over and over and over again, you have all the chances of becoming great at. He also said something else. He said that we either rise to our goals or we fall to our systems. And this is something that I do use in my change workshops since I heard that podcast. And I ask people, how are your systems supporting your goals? And how can you make sure that whatever systems you have in place, there will be a springboard to get you back on track for your goals? So we either rise to our goals or we fall to our systems. And one other thing said, and this will be the Jimmy Carr trilogy endpoint, is that everybody wants what you got, but not how you got it. How many of you have heard about the kintsukuroi or the kintsugi or the kintsuroi Japanese art? Wonderful. So would any one of you want to explain it very quickly? You can read it from the slide. Anyone? Yeah, it looks nice. Has everybody heard what she shared? Yeah, so when something gets broken, usually a ceramic object, when you repair it with gold. And then you actually celebrate it. Not only does it look nicer, but you celebrate the imperfections. And you actually celebrate an opportunity for learning. And I do want to use this Japanese analogy to talk about something, to talk about resilience. And we had a very interesting chat on resilience with Ekin back there, so thank you so much. I have to admit that I have quite a tense relationship with the word resilience because I have seen it misused and abused over and over again. So I fully stand by what it means, and that is our capacity to bounce not only back, but actually to bounce forward. There's a wonderful saying from Sir Winston Churchill that speaks a lot about resilience to me. He said, "Success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm." And that's quite a lot of resilience there. Now, what I do love about resilience is that I learned it's equally parts grit and grace. What we do, however, and what we do especially within organizations, is we over-index the grit and constantly undervalue the grace. And that comes through compromising patience. At the very sign of a change and transformation, no patience, no grace, but over-index on the grit. This is really, I just wanted a slide with Baby Yoda on it. But there's a wonderful book. It's called It's Great to Suck at Something, written by a lady called Karen Rinaldi. And that book really transformed my relationship with discomfort. So what she preaches is that you should not only celebrate your strengths, but you should find something that you gloriously and hopelessly suck at and practice it with great joy and delight. It will help you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It would help you navigate the pressure of being perfect. It will even help you be comfortable with being what Simon Sinek calls the idiot in the room. And that is not being the least smart people in the room, but that is being the person courageous enough to ask questions that are burning everybody's mind, and nobody would ask them because, oh, but they're just so basic. And we all know that the tragedy with common sense, that is not that common. So it's great to suck at something. And there's a bit of research coming out of Stanford that says the most innovative companies, they have almost a counterintuitive, based on our traditional performance management systems, to drive innovation. They set a minimum threshold of failures. And they say, if we fail less than 60%, we are not bold enough, we are not innovative enough, we are not courageous enough. So can you imagine a conversation with your leaders today where you talk about innovation in the sense that this is the minimum threshold for failure? I can, but I have to be really creative. And the last slide comes with a quote from boxer Muhammad Ali that says, "It's not the mountain ahead that you have to climb that wears you down, it's the pebble in your shoes." And what I do want to leave you with is that we reserve agility and adaptability and change and transformation for big turnarounds, for strategic shifts, for deep transformations. But what really wears us down are almost imperceptible changes that happen within the texture of our everyday life. So be a recovering perfectionist and an inspiring good-enoughist. And I am here to tell you that we are all discovering, we are all searching, and we are all winging it. But some of us are just more comfortable with it. So thank you.